From the moment he entered the courtroom, Elijah Freeman felt the building's weight pushing in on him. The pale light filtered through aged glass panes, cutting dust motes in half as though they were evidence himself. Children's artwork still hung in the hallway, faded and dusty, as if somehow the promise of justice had long since died here. He walked slowly, cane tapping the tile floor, each echo tracing the rhythm of a lifetime of waiting. 27 years in the same home, the same neighborhood, the same leaks. Now that lifetime was about to dissolve. At the defense table, his godson, Jeremiah King, stood beside him, strong, upright, alert. A former police officer now studying law. Elijah had handed Jeremiah his truths so many times over the years. Worries about a malfunctioning furnace, losing his job, his wife's death. Today they stood together in this courtroom, not as son and godson, but as justice hopeful and testament. Elijah wore a simple jacket, pants well worn. He smelled of fresh laundry and old sorrow, but wore the contour of dignity. Jeremiah placed his folder gently before him and assured his hand. The judge entered, Miranda Conroy, tall, steel hair pulled in a bun. She perched on the bench like a marionette, strings taut with power. Her eyes flicked across Elijah, curiosity mixing with annoyance. She banged her gavel. Case 13, Freeman versus Westbrook Holdings, trespass alleged. The prosecutor stood, a slick-faced man in his 40s. Your Honor, Mr. Freeman's fence adjusted the boundary by 18 inches. Despite multiple notices, he rectified the neighbor's encroachment himself. Westbrook claims vandalism. Elijah rose, shakily. Your Honor, the fence crossed property lines. I followed the survey, paid fees, replaced the markers at my own expense. There was no vandalism, just an honest neighbor reclaiming what was his. She interrupted. Trespass is trespass. If you rebuild, you pay. Civil court doesn't license self-redress. You took matters into your own hands. Elijah swallowed. He braced his cane. I showed the inspector the survey. He validated it. Her lips curved. We are not referees for your backyard disputes. Your paperwork doesn't exempt you from due process. You remind me of a man cleared on paperwork who didn't understand what he signed. That's your kind of defense. Elijah's chest tightened. He looked down. One tear slid down his cheek, subtle. He blew his nose. His lawyer raised an eyebrow. The judge scoffed. If this is some performance, spare me the tears. She banged her gavel. Case dismissed with fine. Pay within 7 days. Elijah folded the summons and slipped it into his jacket. His legs trembled, but he didn't look at her. He met Jeremiah's eyes, which mirrored hurt and determination. That afternoon, Elijah filed paperwork, not to higher court, but to the State Judicial Commission. He hired civil rights attorney Camille Hayes. He included transcripts, video from public gallery using his permissioned recorder, and dozens of affidavits from neighbors who'd suffered similar dismissals in Conroy's courtroom: elderly, black, female, disabled. Within 3 days, Camille contacted investigative reporters. A feature appeared: Judicial Malpractice. Judge accused of mocking evicted black veteran. Social media erupted. Elijah's tears sparked something national. #JusticeFreeman. Neighbors rallied. Pastor Freeman from the church gave a testimony highlighting Elijah's kindness. Dock workers he had helped came forward. A fund grew online for the fine, but Elijah refused. He wanted accountability, not charity. 2 weeks later, Camille's complaint bore results. An official notice. Conroy must appear before the Judicial Review Panel. She was suspended from hearing civil cases during investigation. Meanwhile, Elijah's appeal was scheduled. The town meetings filled, crowds carried signs reading "Fairness doesn't expire," #StandWithFreeman. On the day of the hearing, the court looked different. Large television cameras lined side benches, the press gallery filled. Supporters wore ribbons. Conroy entered, civilian clothes this time, dark suit, no robe. Her eyes flicked over the audience. She recognized faces in the crowd: Jeremiah, Camille, perhaps Elijah's church pastor. She swallowed. The bench was replaced by a panel of 3 justices with gray hair and confirmation nerves. At the center sat the Chief Justice, Harriet Sloane. Elijah rose. Again, his voice was steady. "Chief Justice, members, I did not come seeking vengeance. I came seeking that which I pay taxes for: fairness. I paid rent on time, I paid for permits, I paid for surveys. I'm a veteran, disabled, still upright because of what I believe. I am not a performance. I am human. And in this court, a human who stood broken should be heard." Silence followed, thick but expectant. Conroy took the stand. She insisted she didn't mock his tears. She claimed they were misquoted. She said she treated all litigants equally. She spoke about her decade of service, her caseload, and her conviction she was firm but fair. Camille stood for cross. First witness, Mrs. Ramirez, an elderly widow who watched her be scolded for pausing to sip water before her testimony. The judge said I looked foolish. She told me I should have no water if I was late. Mrs. Ramirez shook, leaning on a cane. I can still hear her voice. Second witness, a local Asian American student who had been told she didn't belong in the U.S. for asking a procedural question. Dismissed minutes later. Third, Elijah's son, Derek, who testified Elijah had lost hours clearing debris from the broken fence, saving insurance costs for the landlord. He handed his father letters from local organizations praising Elijah's volunteer work. The panel listened, then turned to view the recorded tape of Conroy's contempt phrase, "Reminds me of a man cleared on paperwork." Conroy's face paled as they played it. Her eyes dropped. She shook faintly. Chief Justice Sloane said, "Your actions in both transcript and demeanor demonstrate bias, and patterns have emerged, not isolated incidents, but repeated behavior. This panel finds the allegations credible. Your rulings will be vacated, and you are removed from the bench for 10 years. You must issue formal apology letters to all partially listed defendants and submit to 12 months of mandatory judicial ethics training." Conroy rose. Her voice cracked. She stammered apologies, but no one heard. She exited first. Elijah stayed seated. Jeremiah patted his hand. He let the silence fill him up, slow, like healing. Outside, the press mobbed Elijah for comment. He cleared his throat. "I didn't ask for pity. I asked to be heard." He walked away, shoulders straight. In the following days, the town formed a coalition, Fair Justice Watch. Camille became legal counselor pro bono for others. Elijah helped champion eviction notice reform. His appeal was overturned, fine refunded plus interest, the trespass case erased from his record. He moved back into his home that afternoon. Across the street, neighbors stepped outside with casseroles and praise. Elijah accepted both, with grace. Jeremiah affixed a bumper sticker to Elijah's new car. Tears not equal to weakness. Months later, Camille arranged to meet a former defendant in Conroy's court, a young man jailed for missing hearings due to lack of accessibility. His record was expunged, a fund paid for his medical bills. Journalists called it the ripple effect from tears in court. Elijah returned to his life, sometimes at church with the choir, sometimes volunteering to help veterans. He raised chickens in his backyard. He planted flowers. He sat on his porch, cane resting at his side, eyes soft but alive. Once, a man stopped and said, "You changed the system." Elijah shook his head. "No, the system just heard what I had to say." Years later, a local plaque was installed in the courthouse lobby. In memory of those whose tears compelled justice, may we always remember to listen. And when people ask Jeremiah how his godfather won, he says, he stood broken before a crowd, but he stayed honest. That made all the difference. And that is how Elijah Freeman won.